There's a shot in the episode 9 trailer that I haven't been able to stop thinking about.
It's just now we have nothing.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Jax, alone, staring at nothing, and the environment around him looks almost identical to something we've seen before, except the last time we saw that setting, the character standing in it was already gone. That's not a coincidence, that's a blueprint.
Have you ever done something that you regret?
Today, we're going deep on two things. First, what is actually happening to Jax in the finale, step by step, and why Kofmo's story is basically the roadmap for it. And second, the character rooms. Because once you actually sit down and decode what's in each one, it stops feeling like decoration and starts feeling like psychological profiling. Let's get into it. So let's start with Jax, because the trailer gives us enough to piece together a pretty clear arc for him in episode 9. And I'd break it into 3 stages. Stage 1, anger collapsing into depression. Here's the thing about Jax that the show has been quietly building across episodes 6, 7, and 8. He is not actually fine. The whole I don't care about anything energy, it's a performance. Underneath it is someone who genuinely could not process what happened to Kofmo, what happened to Ribbit, and what the digital circus actually is. He built a version of reality in his head where he's in control, where nothing really matters, and where caring about people is optional. That version of reality has been cracking for a while. After episode 8, we got a teaser where Jax is just standing on the floor, eyes empty, not performing, not doing the bit, just standing there. In the trailer, the cracks get worse. He's visibly reactive, not the detached sarcasm we're used to, but actual aggression, which, if you know anything about how depression works in real people, makes complete sense. Anger is usually the first thing that surfaces before everything else gives out. But here's the problem, and Jax probably knows this on some level. The anger isn't going to fix anything, and once he realizes that, there's nowhere left to go except down. Stage 2, madness. There are a few shots in the trailer where Jax just doesn't look like himself. And I don't mean acting weird. I mean his eyes look wrong, his smile looks wrong, his movements look off in a way that's hard to describe but immediately uncomfortable to watch. This is what happens when someone has been running from their own head for a long time and finally runs out of road. The mask slips, except instead of revealing the person underneath, it reveals that the person underneath has also started to fracture. Combined with whatever external chaos is happening in the finale around him, that mental state is going to accelerate fast. Stage 3, destabilization. This is where it gets really uncomfortable to watch, and also where the Kofmo parallel becomes undeniable. Kofmo started out as what, by all accounts, was a cheerful, friendly guy. He masked his internal state behind performance. And when that broke down, it didn't just break down neatly. It shattered into abstraction. His room is the physical record of that collapse. Jax has followed almost the exact same emotional path. Fake cheerfulness as a coping mechanism. Isolation. Inability to accept help or support from anyone. Escalating internal pressure with no release valve. The difference, and this is important, then is that Jax might not abstract, and that might actually be worse. There's a specific shot in the trailer where Jax is standing in what looks like a version of Kofmo's room, or at least an environment that visually references it. And the key detail is this: Kofmo, in that iconic scene, was facing his abstracted self. Jax is turned away. That difference in body language tells you everything. Kofmo met his fate head-on, in a sense, even if he had no control over it. Jax, in this moment, is refusing to look at it. Now, I've seen the theory that Jax might enter some kind of permanent hallucination state, where his mind essentially creates a comfortable false reality to retreat into, a place where Ribbit is still around, where things feel okay, where he gets to live in the version of the circus that he could tolerate. If that's what's happening in the scene where Pomni walks into Jax's room and says his name in that scared, uncertain voice, if what she's seeing is not a monster but a person who has just completely gone inside their own head, that is honestly more devastating than abstraction. Because abstraction, at least, is an ending. What I'm describing is a different kind of disappearing. Okay, let's pivot to the rooms, because this is something I genuinely think doesn't get enough attention. Here's the thesis. The rooms in the digital circus are not just aesthetic. They are deliberately designed to keep each character locked inside their specific psychological wound. Every single day, the circus is essentially running a custom trauma loop for each resident. Let's go through them. Pomni's room. Everything in it is too big for her. The bed, the mirror, the furniture, all of it is scaled up in a way that makes Pomni look and feel small. And that's clearly intentional, because the mirror is supposedly there so she can see herself at full height. Except she can't, because the proportions are completely off. Pomni is the smallest character in the circus, and her room refuses to let her forget that. It's a physical manifestation of feeling out of place. Too small, overwhelmed by everything around you. Zubal's room. This one hits differently once you remember Zubal's core issue. She hates her body. She hates the removable pieces, hates not being able to settle into something that feels right, and her room is full of mirrors. There's a box where she keeps all her parts. There's a Renaissance marble statue, this idealized classical image of a female body that she can never be. Every element in that room is designed to remind her of exactly what she can't change and can't accept. Gangle's room. It's the most stylistically interesting room in the circus. Dark, dramatic, clearly beautiful in a theatrical way. But that aesthetic reflects something specific. The experience of emotional instability, mood swings that have no obvious cause, a kind of internal darkness that coexists with sensitivity and expression. The room doesn't feel chaotic, but it feels like it could tip at any moment. Ragatha's room. There's a piano, and if you think about Ragatha's relationship with her mother, the pressure, the sense of never being enough, the emotional distance, that piano takes on a whole different weight. It's not decoration, it's a reminder of a relationship that never resolved. And then there's Jack's. His room is pink. Rainbows, a tiny table and chairs, a diary. It looks like a little girl's bedroom, and Jax is a 22-year-old man. There are a few different theories about why. One involves a car accident and guilt that got burned into his memory. But here's what I think is actually going on. We know, from everything the show has shown us across multiple episodes, that underneath the performance, Jax is genuinely sensitive. He formed real attachments to Kofmo and Ribbit. When they were gone, he didn't grieve outwardly. He built a wall and decided that caring about people was something he couldn't afford to do anymore. His room reflects who he actually is underneath all of that. Not a detached, unbothered guy. Someone much younger emotionally, someone scared, someone who never really got to process things. The circus knows that, and it built him a room that reminds him of it every single day. What makes this whole system so uncomfortable is that it's not random. The digital circus, whether Kane designed it this way intentionally or whether the system evolved to work this way, is essentially a machine that takes the most vulnerable parts of each person and builds an environment around those vulnerabilities, not to help them, to keep them destabilized. And that's honestly a more unsettling premise than almost anything else the show has put forward, because it means every moment of comfort these characters have managed to find has been in spite of the space they're trapped in, not because of it. Pomni feeling overwhelmed every day makes sense. She literally lives in a room designed to make her feel small. Zubul struggling with her body image makes sense. She wakes up surrounded by mirrors and a statue of everything she isn't. Jax masking his real self makes sense, because the room that reflects his real self is the last place he would ever want to be. Episode 9 is going to be a lot, and if even half of what the trailer is hinting at actually plays out, Jax's breakdown, Pomni's discovery, the Kaufmo echoes. This finale is going to hit hard, but here's what makes it hit even harder when you zoom out. This isn't just a story about characters in a video game going crazy. It's a story about people who were already struggling before they ever got here, and then got dropped into an environment specifically engineered to make sure they never stop struggling. The digital circus didn't create these wounds. It just made sure they never healed. And Jax, out of everyone, might be the most tragic example of that, because he came in with the tools to survive: humor, detachment, self-preservation, and the circus has spent however long dismantling every single one of them, slowly, quietly, until we get to episode 9 and Pomni walks into his room and can't even say anything except his name. That's the image I keep coming back to. Not the action, not the chaos, just that moment. Someone calling out to a person who might not be reachable anymore. We'll see how it plays out, but whatever happens, this show has earned it. If you want to be here the moment episode 9 drops, subscribe, hit the bell, all of that. I'll be covering every detail as soon as it's out. And if this video got you thinking differently about any of the characters or their rooms, share it with someone else who's into the show. These are the kinds of conversations that are genuinely fun to have. And look, I've given you my read on Jax, but I could be completely wrong, so tell me yours. Comments are open. What do you think actually happens to him in episode 9? See you soon.